connects to the internet, but as your GPS heading and stuff like that, you're connected to cellular data. You can still have a breadcrumb trail. You still report to APRS.fi or anything like that. You can technically, and we've done this. We do the bug control on 88. You can, if you set up the iGates properly, you can gate someone who's internet only out over our, which we have done. So we selectively pick call signs, and we create internet to RF transmission. You set up the software and the rules for that. Not easy to do, thankfully. Not every file will be doing it. We've already got monitor APRS and there's station like everything within 3 counties with last out of the 2 hops gets well past Buffalo. There's actually that same system that does the plotting. You go to their maps and you can draw circles or coverage maps for a digibeat. And you go to, so if you go to the station, your own station, for example, how far does my signal go? On 2 hops. Well, the first thing you can go is that what are all the digis that I hear direct? So you go to this map and you turn on all the coverage. Okay? Then you go to each one of those and you look at their digis that hear it directly and you have to turn on all their coverage. That's the first place. I did it for this station because I mentioned it that one hop. He was getting to me directly at my house. And I plotted the map. He turned his digi off for all his iGates for a while. Now he's back to 2 hops when he's only son. I didn't have the time to figure out, because you're getting a digi to Montreal, you're talking halfway into Boston on the second hop. When you look at, because once you get to a mountain digi, there's so many others. That's why they went to this wide 2 thing, because people were sometimes on 5 and 6 hops. We got stuff from California getting out to us. But also it was massively jamming because APRS is not connected packet. There's no send a packet, send an act back like you used to. It's spray and pray. Well, when you got so many people for 7 hops spraying and praying, if you've ever been at an APRS digi and turned on the audio and just listen, you can hear the collisions happen. You hear the heterodyne of the signals. So I've done that with packet stations. What they call hidden transmitters. Packet and APRS is carrier sense multiple accesses. What does that mean? It means that it doesn't transmit if you hear something. That's fine with yourself. You don't hear anybody transmitting, you send your packet. Get up on the hilltop. It's now got a 60-mile range, right? I'm 2 hops on APRS. My house, I get just outside of Boston. Days I can be to Pittsburgh. Routinely hear stuff in Montreal because there's a big digi in the Adirondacks. It's flat north. So that is a 1 hop, and the Onion digibeater is a 2nd hop. I routinely hear stuff all over the place. So I'm typically down to Philly. Some days it's down to DC. And so that's just 2 hops. And that's with no collision or no error checking. So it's pretty impressive. So when you talk about some of those, is that the satellite tracking up in the upper left hand corner. That's G-Predict. That's the open source satellite prediction software. It's kind of cool. But you want to make impressions on people when they're standing around. What do you do? And see these satellites flying. This one's falling overhead. This is the dedicated Kenwood radio. I've got one of those here. This little device. Have any of you heard of the Digipod? Raspberry Pi Zero. Full screen hat. Audio card that you wear in your push-to-talk transmit machine. Push-to-talk and ground. This little device has got a web server on it, so you connect to it with anything with a web browser. It creates its own hotspot. If you don't have a connection. This runs APRS digibeater. It'll run WinLink. It'll run it is a neat little device. Raspberry Pi Zero, now the Raspberry Pi Zero W, well, Raspberry Pi Zero W, and the 2 version is nice because it's got the quad-core processor, and it uses Direwolf as the sound card for a lot of modes, and it will run 96. The regular Pi 3 and 4 work with it. It's a neat little device, and it talks all about this pack with the WinLink. To run USB, like the ICOM 705. It actually doesn't need any cables, it just plugs into the USB port. And it's like nice digital phone. So let's talk about regular packet radio. It's a connected radio system, but over radio. On HF frequencies, the speed is typically 1200 baud, but you've got some links backbone for this. It uses what they call TNCs, any number of applications available, something as simple as buddy or terminal mode to all kinds of cool feature-rich software, and we use to build wide area networks of radio. I'm the president of an organization called East. That is the East Coast, actually anything East Coast. So your basic minimum setup. This works for APRS as well, but you've got a radio, some sort of TNC, and a computer or something. And they show these squiggly lines because you got to have audio in, audio out, push to talk, and ground. Those are normally kludges of, you saw that mess of wires I just pulled out of there. I'll just try it. 10 years later, it still sits there and you have to prove it. But a lot of the newer radios have this connector here, 6-pin mini DIN, and it's got your push to talk for your data in, data out. Notice it says there's 96 and 1200 baud. That shouldn't be labeled like that. It's the type of audio you're getting. Discriminator audio or speaker audio. As the higher speed mode, 4000 baud and above, they don't do audio frequency shift key. It's not. It's actually frequency. Moving the frequency of the transmitter, your ones and zeros. But it definitely makes, it's already got that connector standard across the line. And if you're like that DigiFi, you can actually get a board, so it just has that anything. You can plug in a radio. It's a network versus ad hoc, right? A packet network is planned and routed. So this packet collision thing, carrier sets multiple access. A lot of good networks are built for what they call backbones. HTS-free backbone. Hidden transmitter syndrome free backbone. Just two packet stations on a frequency you don't allow users. One end here's the other one transmit, the other one, so they never collide with each other. Because when you've got a high mountaintop, you can have somebody say, hey, the airway's clear, I can transmit. Somebody on the other side doing the same thing with the user port on the hilltop, here's a both, gets collisions, waits the time to do retries and all. Wi-Fi and stuff like that suffers from the same problem. Carrier sets multiple access means if you can't hear all the other people trying to gain access to the system as well, you can't hear them to hold off and not transmit. So your node sites at the high locations interconnect to each other to create your backbones. Your node sites involve multiple TNCs because you have multiple radios and different frequencies. The backbone links typically are on UHF or 220, and there's some sort of routing involved, meaning the software that you're running for your connect. Here's some examples. That top right corner there, that's the ESNet system. We've got some internet links, longer range, and all these, and then these bridge to the RFs, the pockets of regional. Have a wide area network on RF with one or more. You think packets dead? People talk about packets dead. This is a friend of mine. He maintains a database and a map of all the packet activity. so if you're not careful, but you can just send emails and receive emails. Fax, some people have fax. DX clusters, how many of you do DX spotting? This was originally done and started over back. The people that got the automatic software that, oh, there's a DX spot, they click out, their rig turns to it, their beam turns, switches bands, goes to the frequency, they just make a call. This originally was all done over the back of the 90s. It's a broadcasting spot will come across. Hey, this call sign is on this frequency. And so you just get a rig around to it, make a contact. We've got on the packet network chat rooms and servers, local worldwide. Many nodes that you've got on a hilltop have a local chat server, so everybody you can run a Skyward net to the chat. There's also like the hub NA, and that connect to that server. There's 36,000 possible chat. You do a /who to see who's on and what room the chat rooms are in. They can be on multiple rooms on the same frequency, and be a local bullshit net. It can be like that log or a regional net. There's bulletin board systems. How many are you old enough to ever use bulletin boards? Yeah. Bulletin boards. You used to dial in, you had message groups, you send bulletins that were kind of like what you would get on a group email list now, or groups Google groups, or defunct God groups. You subscribe to something in general. That was done years ago. Bulletin system. So you go in there and you say list of bulletins for sales, technical articles, MTS messages, earthquake alerts, stuff. Not so much for sales stuff. Earthquake alerts are really popular. Keyboard to keyboard chat between two users. You don't have to have any advanced system. Just connect to somebody and start doing the so you can affect direct communications. Nice thing is, if you're running a computer or anything like that, things like copy and paste and all that stuff you used to use on the computer with text, easy to save and duplicate and stuff like that. Create permanent records of stuff. Do this. You can have an online shared database, shelters or public service events or anything like that. There's software, it's just basically an SQL database. You set up the file, fire it up, say, okay guys, you're going to send 4 characters. Sex, age, wherever they're home, whatever, you predefine that. So anybody can sit there and say they're running the shelter and check everybody in. Just set up a format, they send that format, and it automatically populates the database. When it comes in, it date stamps it. Where they are shows up because of the call sign sent it. So now all of a sudden you've got a searchable database. One of the things that's problematic for local flooding events and things like that, oh, we got shelters. Some of the people won't leave home because they don't want to leave their pets and animals, right? Some counties have actually set up special shelters where they know they're bringing pets. They can bring pets. People go there, help take care of other people's pets, cages, all that stuff. Corrals if they need to be. That's another interesting thing that's done at a county level. How do you use it now? A user station consists of just a computer, radio, and antenna, some sort of modem TNC. TNCs now, if you don't already own hardware ones, are sound cards. Very easy to do. Low cost, but you got to get a little. You get total with things. You got to build a cable, take it. You can buy a $4 USB sound card, solder one up. They outperform the hardware TNCs. I'm running now sound card TNC on my internal station. That's why I'm seeing those costs. As a sound card decoding, it's got multiple decoders. Direwolf, I think it's got 8, 9 decoders. So if one doesn't decode, it references the other 7. It's running in parallel with decoders. So 6 out of 8 say it's good. We'll call it good. You know, and you can see stuff a lot dirtier than. But again, it's similar, not the same as APRs because it's connected. Everything that goes has got send a packet, you send an acknowledgement packet, got it, good. Or I didn't get it recent, so that's connected. So transmit audio, ground, push to talk. People get scared about this push to talk because most of the time, especially on HTs, you got to put a component or two in there because key up, because you don't on your HF, the RF gets into the line that you can see and locks up. So everybody's like, I'll just use Vox. Now, Vox works on APRS because you're not waiting for an acknowledgement. Transmit, receive, fast switch, turnover. Vox doesn't do that, especially this Bofang crap. Even when you use the push to talk line on Bofangs, the decode rate is about 10% real rate. They're crap. The guy that builds that DigiPi just did a video on it 3 weeks ago and did a comparison of all the radios and Bofang. 10%. And he wasn't even using Vox. Because there's a software-defined receiver in there, by the time you unkey, and that receiver has time to recover, it's just too slow. It's a massive transmit. The radio requirements for APRS and for most connected packet systems have 2-meter user access. And these older 2-meter radios are fine. In fact, you find people that will give them to you because it's an older radio, an ICOM HC that doesn't have PL, right? Packet doesn't use access. So they're perfect for packet. Low power will work on a lot of the systems. The user access ports, you don't have to have 100 watts. The interface cable, the push to talk and the ground and the receive audio. That's the hard part. Depending on the radio, you can buy pre-made ones, and especially if you've got that 6-pin mini DIN stuff, you can buy all that stuff. Older radios and making other stuff work, you might have to get soldering air and some good documentation. I hate making papers. All the original hardware TNCs originally used a 5-pin. I've got so many 5-pin DIN cables made up for various radios. I made an interface cable that goes from 5-pin to the 6-pin mini because I want to remake all those various cables that I've got. I just made one universal one to connect your outdoor antenna. Again, using the rubber duck on an HT, RF normally gets into the cable and locks it. And or they're not rubber ducks, rubber duckies. HT antennas. I hate HTs. I hate HTs with the speaker, right?
Favorite thing in the world.
And they're already low power. But on a 2 meters, an HT with a rubber duck is about 10 dB negative gain. UHF is a 20 dB negative gain. 20 dB is 100 times reduction in power. 100 times. 10 dB is 10 times. Logarithmic scale. So if you've only got a...
Well, I think I've got an 8-watt open.
I just put a speaker mic on it too. And put it on your hip and play EMS Joe Schmo where you clip it here and you just push it, talk like this. Yeah. But, and people will be like, I hear the repeater great. Yeah, the repeater's on the mountaintop. The high gain antenna at 100 watts. Talk about this balance path. You're starting out at 4 watts on a UHF repeater, and you just lost 100 times your power. And you're sitting in your car driving, and you tipped it sideways. When you go from horizontal to vertical, 20 dB. You switch polarity, it's 20 dB loss. So go horizontal with a rubber duck, in a Faraday cage. And what's that? Just like the guys on contest. Give me a call again. I missed the last 3. Give me again. All right, give me it different phonetically. All right, I think I got it, old man. Yeah, your signal's 5.9. Shit. Do you understand what 5.9 means?
Not a clue. They have not a clue.
Well, I don't want to be rude. It's a technical hobby. It is the computer. Anything with a web browser, cell phone, and that's what this Digify is really touted for. In fact, the web page is coded for a mobile phone screen. Um, the sound card, you know, a good computer to run a sound card TNC. You got Direwolf, UZ7HO, the AGWPE Pro series packet engine. Windows is probably got the most programs available with Linux and Slash Raspberry Pi. They are popular too. And again, that's what that Digify device is. And the Mac OS is always going to struggle with us. This is that zoomed in network map. That's our EastNet packet network. That doesn't include all the EPQ nodes and everything like that. All the blue lines are all RF connected. The orange lines are RF connected. And then the dotted lines are the AXIP or internet connections bridging. We're working on New York State government, Homeland Security wants an RF network. Learning again. Back in the 90s, we had this organization called NIDA, Northeast Digital Association, and they were really a standards-based. It was before there was the internet. AOL dial-up didn't exist yet. CompuServe did. We had FIDO BBSs dial into each other to forward email. We had a connected packet network from Maine to Ohio. No internet. And it worked surprisingly well. This is remnants of that stuff. Trying to resurrect some of them. WinLink. So, WinLink is really just an email system with 3 axes: HF, VHF, and Telnet. HF, I understand why it's so popular, because it requires almost zero infrastructure. There's a handful of HF gateways on various frequencies around the world. You just got to have your radio, your computer, and a modem that uses whatever mode the gateway is you're trying to. It used to be backdoor, then backdoor 3, then it was RDOP, and now it's Vera. You know. So your modem interface from your computer needs to, you know, use the flavor of the day for the digital program. Worldwide coverage, but it's slow. Maybe 300. Maybe a little more, but that's still slow. VHF systems are connected either to the internet. You know, a lot of systems are a guy puts a 2-meter radio and a TNC out there and then hooks to the internet. In theory, that works. So the internet in that area goes out. And if you only know how to get on WinLink via VHF, well, it's useless because the internet. Our network, because it's all across the Northeast, all you gotta do is find somebody with an SSID dash. That's an indicator. And they'll go $1,200 typically most of them. They're starting to, people put up what they call Vera FM stations. That requires you got a special modem and a special protocol not compatible with packet. Only allows one station to connect at a time. Packet networks is a multi-connect system. Multiple users. So it gets to those situations where it's Vera FM station connected to the internet. So, but the systems on EastNet at least are connected. So you can get away from where the internet is. Then the internet and telnet connection. You don't need a radio for that. You just got to use a telnet connection, your favorite WinLink software, and it connects fast. It works. It's actually good for most people to do that to keep their WinLink contact. Just check it out. Real simple to do.
AC1 GST or N2 AT.
So thanks for asking.
But a WinLink is very popular as an emergency communications method because it's very much like email became very popular as a method of communications because if you and I have to talk on the radio or on the telephone, we both have to have that exact moment in time free. Exact same. Email can be near real time. You could be on the phone, but you're going to be done in a minute and a half. I could send you an email. As soon as you hang up on your phone call or doing something else, oh, you see that email, you send a reply back, and within minutes, you know, the communications are effective, but they didn't have extension. That's why texting also became, because it's the same concept. Near real-time communications versus real-time. So high-speed data and mesh, ARDN and HSMM, or high-speed multimedia. New packet radio, that's an experimental mode that's somewhere between the slow packet and high-speed stuff. LoRa, actually IoT. There are people building LoRa networks and making 900 megahertz. Those are pretty amazing distances. But LoRa also has modules that a lot of other countries use, the UHF band 100 megahertz. That's licensed. We can build these LoRa networks up. Again, some are licensed, some are shared. 900 meg band, yes, we're licensed in it. There's a shitload of unlicensed in it. So it's potential interference. More limited range, meaning you're not going to have a network like that across New York State without a lot of effort. But it's internet type of speed use. So anything you can do on Ethernet internet, you can do on these high speed IP video cameras, voice over IP telephones, computer networking, linking computer systems, especially the like that. Shared databases. We talked about the shelter. You could actually link packet and high-speed networks. Slow-speed segment, covering a wide area, have a smaller area with high speeds. And you can set up a link system real quick at a field day site. Have that operating system quite easy. So for those serious field dayers that get into it big time in a multiple operating station, do checks and logbooks, network operating system. It's very inexpensive too because it recycles a lot of wireless consumer grade. This is some of the type of equipment. That's an actual radio. This is mountaintop site here in California. We got dish networks. These are sector antennas for access coverage of large area. So you put these on a hilltop, and then somebody at home gets a dish like this. They can log in. And, you can do some pretty good distance, especially up in California where you don't have trees. All this stuff is 2.4, 5.7 gigahertz, 3.5. Trees are killer for that. So you gotta have line of sight. Then you got the direction. This one I put here because this has also got IP cameras. And this is we've done between the Norwich and Oneonta clubs, public service events where we do IP cameras. In front, just no longer. We used to put over half of the city in the running group. We had cameras, and we linked them back, and we sat control. We could switch cameras and show them. Race groups had a lot of eyes. The Norwich Club just last year certified the Unadilla approach track. Almost done.
You're about done? John just wanted to come in. The emergency services on Route 8, there's traffic like the Berlin South. They always have a traffic everybody runs south. This past year, we had 5 cameras set up north of the village, so we could see if the traffic was backing out. We had a camera going north and south. And then at the traffic light, we had 3 cameras. One of them was on ATV, just backup. 2 other pan tilt zooms. Zoom around. Pan tilt zoom is so good. We have one after the race, it was still up and running. Zoom in almost.
Not that we were eavesdropping or snooping or anything.
Right.
I wish it was normal weather and shorts and tank top weather. But it was, what you could see, I could recognize the people standing at the cash register.
You know, the grainy, police video footage, that was not it.
And these are $200. And of course, a voice over IP system, telephone system, you can put over this.
Hamshack hotline.
What's that?
Hamshack hotline.
throw a PBX together on a Raspberry Pi and stick it on the network anywhere. All right, that's what I got. Next guy wants to room. Anybody have any questions or anything like that? Hopefully it was somewhat knowledgeable and informative.
Filling a lot of gaps.
And every one of these topics, I could go on months-long dissertations.
Yeah, well, I can tell you one out more about the mapping.
I appreciate it, Brian, thank you.
Thank you guys, thanks for coming in. All right, so I need this.
Map K2EAG.
Howdy.
Are you gonna start over on your beard?
So I want to, you know, because it seems very weird, very weird about it, but.
What's that? I don't know.
And this one was the one that reminded me, hell, you know.
Brian, you reminded me of my university days.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
A Warren professor?
Yep.
Always here to encourage or badger, depending on how you look at it.
Did you end up breaking $1,000?
That's what I was teaching.
I raised $1,200.
Well, I taught for the Navy too, I used to
What was it for exactly?
teach every drill weekend.
So the St. Baldwin's Foundation, they.
Sorry, I went a little over, we started like 2
help find cures for.
Did you
childhood
announce the
cancer.
bags?
Oh, okay.
Oh, no, wait a minute,
Yeah, my sister had to.
where's Andy? Because there's only 3 of them.
Okay, well then they all get a bag then. No problem.
Where's Andy?
Oh, we can get it to him. Yeah, I'll take Andy's here. Oh, wow.
Swag bag, I don't know what's in them, but they told me to get
Yeah,
it.
it's cool.
Only if you stay to the end.
Hey, while you're in there.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
What do you want?
Nice to meet you.
hold my baby.
How far are you from here?
15 miles north.
This is
Oh,
the
okay.
inch of my connector.
On the
Probably
hilltop.
came through there. That's
Yeah.
3.5
I
hours.
fell on the floor, so you might-
Village of Sherman, so right up Route 12.
It's there somewhere.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, cool. Nice to run into this. It's nice to fun getaway today.
Yeah.
The weather was cooperative and nothing else going on, so
The only cable I
great
can
to
keep
meet up with
phones on.
somebody in the office.
Yeah. There's a lot of times where it's nice to see them in person. I mean,
Yeah.
you talk with these guys on the radio all the time, but then it's just like.
Which class
Who are you? Rather than your neck
Oh,
burning.
It's like. What's
You can't quite make out the name. Is there something?
Honestly, last year I felt bad with Andy because he came down to our field day.
All 4 with them.
And
We want to be a full service
Andy,
animal.
whatever. And I know I received this friend request
So I better make
from
training
some
sessions,
Andy as
because,
well.
you know, look it out there.
It looks like a solid month
Well, it gives them a little break.
before my head just clicked and going, wait a minute.
Oh my God.
The Andy that came to field day is the same Andy that friend requested me, is the same Andy that I talk with on Octane every week. I was a little slow on that.
Are you guys both
Since I do Saturday night.
not anymore? Or?
No,
Oh, you haven't? Oh, okay. Sometime.
the most that I did was holding it down when they went off frequency to the others.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like the Randy ran over and take traffic.
Find it.
Yep. And he's like, stay here.
That was
Well,
easy.
my wife does it.
Done a good job setting up.
Western District.
If you want,
So
the
it's,
humble
yeah, most of the stations have tried
in
it.
there.
We have a different station every night that's assigned. Every weeknight has an alternate as well. So we basically have 14 unique net control stations. It's always encouraging people, hey, give it a try. Yeah, it's a great skill, and it's a safe place.
It's one of those things that I find kind of amusing. Is there's even if you guys in here, but our local club net. Oh, so scared to run that, or Skywarn activation. Oh, they're so nervous. And it's just like, why? I mean, to me, Skywarn is like extreme because you read what National Weather Service said. You take storm reports. What's so hard about that?
Traffic sometimes a little bit more
Traffic
juggling.
can be entertaining.
Logistically.
Yeah. It's like, okay, I gotta get this from here to here, and
This is-
I don't have anybody.
This is going through, well, too bad, I just sent Doug off frequency. Who else do I have?
Yeah, now, who can take this?
That and then, you know, oh, I'm looking for volunteers for delivery and, you know, wherever. Don't y'all raise your hands to once, I can hear that heterodyne coming in now.
There's the Western PA net. It's Western Pennsylvania phone traffic job. But when they have stations check in, you're asked to check in saying, if you take traffic and if you have traffic. So no one's going to check in saying, I can't take traffic. So that immediately makes them eligible to take traffic. Wait a second, you checked in and said you could take traffic. You know, instead of being the anonymous person, you check in and you decline. It's K2EAG, no traffic, and take traffic. All right, K2EAG, call W2ZXN and receive one. It's kind of clever.
That's a little backwards way, or a nice way of getting you to back into it. How
Well,
many
it
we
became
got?
a rape net.
There was another gentleman with the green sweatshirt on. Who's coming too?
I don't know who's coming to this.
Okay, all right. I have to run into that. Gotcha. All right, I will be back. Okay, sure.
I actually wasn't planning on joining this one. So,
Okay, no problem.
go around the floor again.
It'll be a practice session.
Yeah. This is great that they had these sessions, though. It's,
Well,
Yeah, this is our first year doing the
Right.
sessions.
and we wanted to give somebody a chance, like if you could be out there walking around all morning, at least you could come in and sit down, maybe pick up something, learn something. You know.
just a nice value add, yeah.
Yes,
Because even if you don't buy anything, you know, might pick up some new
Right.
information.
absolutely.
You guys do testing sessions too?
On the other side of the
Oh,
building.
you were, okay.
I'm gonna have Matt just do one more.
Which map?
The other map.
Three bats here.
You guys are, okay, good.
Yeah.
We got another guy coming, he's in the bathroom right now.
Ooh, that's not a bad idea, actually.
If
Is
you
this
go-
the Harley
when you
Davidson
came in?
class?
Yeah. Pardon me?
Is this the Harley Davidson class?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
have a seat.
The whole lineup over there. Look at that. Nice. I went through a phase where I was buying these things when I was finding them because I wanted
Yeah.
to proliferate 6-meter AM equipment in the area.
Sure. I actually have the same idea sometimes.
Yeah, I would love,
Yeah.
I would really love to be to a point where everybody in town has one just in the background.
Right, yeah. It'd be nice. You're gonna tape me?
Tape you.
You're gonna
This is the 20
copy me or whatever you wanna call it?
first century.
You're live streaming. We're putting you on.
I'm live streaming?
No,
Oh.
He might
All
be
right,
joking.
I'm gonna
I'm
have to
not.
change my strategy.
Now you got to charge, right?
Yeah, right. First of all, I'm gonna run and tell Matt to just kind of give a quick, hey, it's starting. So you never know, we might pick up a couple. Yes, I got a little late start, of course. Yeah, you heard him. I'll take a couple more. This other guy said he was coming back. I had to go to the bathroom.
The bathroom's out of commission.
They cut.
What
them.
time do you guys serve lunch? Give the guy a break.
We're gonna have a breakout, and you can. Good morning.
Oh, all right. Here
Morning.
you go.
I don't know where I'm at. Good morning. This is a presentation I initially gave to my ham club, and I was asked if maybe I would do it for this session of the Hamfest, and I said sure. I just want to say that if you're a ham, you know, if Heathkit has never touched your life in one way or another, you're living under a rock, because Heathkits are everywhere, you know. So, you were talking about how you were buying them up and had them.
I've got a handful.
Yeah.
I just need to find the time to sit down and straighten them out.
Yeah, and get them working, and yeah.
Working, but
Yeah.
it needs a little
Yeah.
refinement.
Yeah. Well, there's always a little tweaking, clean the switches, and usually if you clean the switches and replace a few of the caps, they'll come up alive again for you.
Yeah,
You know.
I did the filter caps. And
Yes, that's it.
all
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
and, is that the one that was it one of the lunch boxes that I took the filter can apart and stuffed?
You can grind off the bottom and you can pull the guts out and and restuff them. Yeah.
There's two big caps underneath
Yeah.
for the power supply.
Yeah.
And then there's a filter can.
Yes.
Yeah, so I filled it with radial or the modern capacitors.
Yeah.
Stuffed it in and ran it B to JB welded.
Yes.
I don't think it turned out the way I wanted it to, but it worked.
Yeah. Well, my name is John. I'm W2BDN. I've been a ham for 30 years, maybe 31 years. I got my first license in '91. It's really important when you're looking at these, you kind of have to put them into context. And the context of these was, and you'll find out that the 2 meters are more prolific than the 6s is what I find, okay? And the reason is because back then, we're talking the early 60s, the novices had privileges on 2 meters, phone privileges, so that was a big draw. The other part of it was a transceiver. I think we were talking about that just before. And you got a radio, you got a transmitter and receiver all in one box, okay? They went for like $45, so that was another selling point of them, you know? And they even give you crystal with it, and everybody pretty much got the same crystal, so everybody was working on the same frequency, so, you know. But what I have here in front of you, there was 5 iterations, okay? And every one of those iterations is in front of you right here. Let me just get out of the way. All right, so the first one, this is the tenor, of course, 10 meters, okay? And then the 6er, 6 meters. And the 6ers have another interesting story behind them, which I'll expand upon. The 2er, 2 meters. And then they also come up with a CB version, which was the CB1. Right? And of course, you could buy them either already built or you could buy them as a kit. And I think most of them were built as a kit. When you take them apart and you look on the inside of them, you get a good idea of whether it was hand wired or I mean, factory wired or you did it or somebody did it. So I mean, I've seen some really interesting stuff inside of these. I own, at this present, you're looking at 5 of the 7 that I own, or 11 that I own. So, and most of those are 2ers and a couple 6ers. So, anyway, let me move on to the next slide, which actually gives us a little bit more information here. Not sure if I can do this right. There we go. There you go. 5 different models. And they were sold between 1960 and 1967.
Now, what was the difference between the 29 and 29?
Okay, we will get to that. Yes, I'm glad you noticed that because that is a point. All right, I can sort of give you sort of a preface to that. And when they built these, especially the 2ers, they were smart in the fact that they kept in mind that there were a lot of 8 megahertz crystals out there or somewhere in there, okay? So if you take 8.025 and you take it times 18, you'll be at 144.450. So there was a proliferation of military crystals in the 8 megahertz region, and when Heathkit built these, they actually had that in the back of their mind. Hey, crystals are going to be dirt cheap. I mean, you go to Hamfest and you would buy them for like 10 cents a piece. All right, so if you wanted to change the frequency, it was quite easy and pretty economical, which is the preface to why I'm going to talk about the 6s and why there's 2 different models. Okay. Okay. Extremely popular kit. Well, I haven't seen any at the Hamfest today. I have not seen one. No. What you do now? It was a good value. Novices had phone privileges on 145 to 147. Technicians also had privileges on 50 to 54, and that made the Sixer popular with them. It was a transceiver, right? You didn't have to have two radios. Hams found it to be interesting and attractive design. And you know what? That's another thing people, these weren't the only lunchbox kind of style that Heathkit came out with. The whole concept of the lunchbox things, you'll find it in their test equipment too. They basically have the same handles, if you look at it. And that's why there was always this like lunchbox kind of like, you know, names stuck on them. Okay, the 243 used 8 megahertz surplus crystals, except the Sixer HW29. Okay, and that's where we're going to get into why there's two different ones. And not only that, there was another feature. You could go mobile if you got the GP11 optional power supply, which is this item right here. You could put that in your trunk, right? You could put this on your front seat, and you could run mobile, which was kind of a new concept. I mean, well, not totally new, but you know, to get into it, because this was only $16 to buy back in the 60s. So, you know, for less than $60, you could go mobile with 2 meters.
It's just how loud that is.
Well, I would make, well, you know it's a vibrator supply, right?
Yeah, that's why I was
Right. It's not too loud. It's not too bad. Where you mount it would mean a lot. I mean, if I would certainly put like some kind of like vibration damper on the bottom of it if I didn't want to listen to it all the time.
Something in the trunk, right?
Something in the trunk. That's why I mentioned the trunk, because it's probably the best place to put it, you know. So anyway, yeah. So, and you say, hey, wow, that's really cool. I got a transceiver. I get a power supply. I can go mobile. I can go on hilltopping. All right. There was a lot of hilltopping that went on with these things, by the way. And I'm going to throw this also in here. These are the absolute most modified Heathkits that Heathkit ever made. Okay. And the modifications could be rather small or they could be rather large. And people, you know, the receiver section on these, they're as wide as a barn door, okay? You just have to be near where the guy is and you'll hear him, okay, without any problem. So some guys would put selectivity circuits in, used in the new Nuvistors and stuff. So there was a lot of stuff that went on with these things. Probably the most popular and the most prolific one was, as you can see, somebody has put the crystal holder in front, okay? So they could change frequencies quite easily. And this is the other modification that you'll find often. They went to the PL259. There was just an RCA jack in there, and I can show you. Let me see. Yeah, this is one without the modification. There's an RCA jack there instead of a PL259. And the problem with this is it keeps falling out, you know. After a while, you wear it out. Anyway, so there you go. That's why everybody was buying these. That's why you see them even today all over the place. The only problem is they're AM and people don't use them. Unfortunate. Okay, here's an advertisement for one. That's a 6 and 2 meter.
I love the mic.
I have the mic here. It was probably the cheapest mic that Turner made. You guys can check it out. You probably already seen one.
I don't think I've ever actually held one.
Oh, okay. But you know, you don't necessarily have to use that particular mic because any crystal or ceramic mic will operate these quite easily, you know. And there's the advertisement. I think that at that advertisement was saying $44.95. So that's about
I feel like you need to use the mic just for the flavor.
Well, it has a style in its own right.
You can use any mic, but it just wouldn't have the same
Yeah,
flavor.
right, exactly. Yeah, thank you. This is an advertisement for the CB one. I think it came with, I'm trying to think. And these came out right after they gave 11 meters to the CB band.
Channel 14, everybody has channel
Well, actually, I think these came with 11. Channel 11. I don't know why Channel 11, but that was, yeah. And of course, they all came with Channel 11, so you weren't alone.
Those crystals were just cheap that day when they made the big order.
Yes, yeah. Yeah. You know, they probably ordered 20,000 of them. They, you know, 2 cents a piece.
We got some.
Yeah. We just had an order that nobody canceled.
Color you want, as long as it's black.
Yeah, it's black.
We just had a canceled order, so anyway. And wired or kit form. You know, I was really surprised when I saw this because I thought for some reason the FCC would be really down and let somebody just build their own. And I thought that was a little, yeah.
Was it different? Because you can't build a CB today. It has to be
No.
a manufactured type accepted.
Was it different? Good question. I don't think it's any different. I've been on the side of it. It just seems like, you know, there's nothing special about it. So.
Except cold solder joints.
Well, yeah, cold. Oh, don't tell me about those. That's the other mysteries you find inside of them. This one here actually has the. This is a CB, and it has the ID card. Yes, which you used to have on every transmitter. You had to fill this card out and stick it on there. And that's why you see this little pocket on each one of them. So and this guy was from, hold on a second, Dayton, Ohio. 27.085, which I think is 11.
Are the handles durable enough that you don't have to worry about breaking them? Because I always picture them up super dainty, like, oh, I should.
Oh no, they're pretty robust. I mean, really, when it comes to 1960s plastic, it's pretty good actually. And then I noticed on the later models, I don't know if any of yours have it, but there's Heathkit embossed right on the top.
No, mine does not.
And you notice that
mine is missing a handle, but I know because I would notice if it said something cool like that. You know?
And you notice the color changes too. There were like different, I guess, whatever the paint was, whatever the contract was that.
Or they just live in the smoker.
Yeah. So, let's see, and they're very light. That's the other. Okay, accessories. That's $39.95. That's even better. And of course, for $16 you get the GP11. Yeah. I found when I first got this, it wasn't working at all, and I found 3 unsoldered joints in it, and all I did was solder them up, and boom, we're in business.
So it never worked.
It never worked. Yeah. No, the guy had never worked. Yeah. Yeah. Basically, yeah. You know. So anyway, here we go. Okay. This is just on the tour. Power input to the final RF was 5 watts. AM modulation crystal controlled, which meant that you maybe got 2 watts out of it, because there's that. Yeah. Receiver. Now, super regen, cheap way to go, right? Preceded by RF amplifier stage and 1 watt of audio coming out of a 6AQ5. The power supply, which they're using diodes now, and they're not using a rectifier tube, which is a plus, right? Less transformer, less, yeah. And 6 to 12 volts with the optional power supply. You had to change the resistor in the optional power supply depending on what, you know, because back then people had 6-volt cars. Yeah. Yep. Right. So, yeah. So there were 5 tubes. You might be familiar with them. I'm not going to go through all of them, but you can see exactly what it is they were doing. 12AX7, audiophiles love those now, so they're kind of hard to, yeah, so if you got a few hanging around, hang on to them, or sell them, make a couple hundred. All right, so differences between the 29 and the 29A, right? The first model used more difficult to obtain 5th overtone crystals. Only 4 tubes. Because they used the 5th overtone crystal, they were more prone to TVI. Okay, bad thing back then. The neighbors banging on your door. Heathkit made available between the models a conversion kit, making it possible to use more abundant 8th overtone crystals at less TVI. It's rare to find an H29 in its original state. Most were converted, and you want, I could show you how you automatically can identify a converted HW29.
Really?
Yes, without even taking it out of the box. You see these 2 screws?
Yeah.
They hold the converter. So this is a 29, and they've done the conversion. Okay. I've got a picture there so you can see exactly what happened. Yep. And that's the big difference between the 29A and a 29. And if you always have to look and see. If you see a 29, is it an A or is it a regular one? It hasn't been converted. Because if it hasn't been converted, you're going to be running around looking for 5th overtone crystals, which kind of like, you know, are they around at all? I don't know. So, all right, so let's move on. There you go. Now you can see the converter. As you look right here, you can see the tube standing up above the transformer. That's the conversion. And when I first started getting into these, I had no idea what was going on. I had no clue. And then I started digging into it, and that's when I found out the differences between the two. So, of course, that's been converted to a PL259 already. So, this. Yes. Right. And you'll notice that some of them, this one's been converted, but somebody went ahead and put holes in it so they could put the tool in there and do the adjustment without taking the back off, right? And that's the other part. I don't know if you knew, well, you're probably well aware of this, but you get a lot of these. Let me see if I've got one here. Darn, I don't have. You get a lot of these, and there'll be a hole drilled right about here, right about that area.
No, actually, I believe that mine does have, because isn't there like, there's a tweak when you change
The tank
frequency,
circuit,
you're
the final
supposed to-
cap there.
Yeah.
When you put the number 47 bulb on here, and you adjust it for the brightest, okay, and that's where you adjust it. The only problem is people would take a metal screwdriver and they would go through, and they would short out, and you know it told you, you know.
It told you.
Yeah, it told you. Right. So the thing is, you take it out of the box or the cabinet and you adjust it. You put it back in the cabinet, and there's a change, right? So everybody was kind of like frustrated with that. So they. Yeah, that was the method of tuning it. Just put a light on it and just go for it. Okay. Okay, there's there you can see the two screws up there. Somebody's already done the crystal mod to it, and we're all set to go.
See, I've never actually seen one that hasn't been modified in some way or the other.
Yes.
If I ever found like a totally original one, I feel like I would have to pay whatever he was asking.
If I found a totally original one, I would say to myself, this has probably never hardly been used. 'Cause,
Yeah,
they built it and just put it on a shelf and they forgot about it. Yeah. Is that my? Anyway. So, let's see. All right. In conclusion, should you be interested in obtaining a lunchbox, there are still plenty of tours around, a lot of them. They are simple to work on, they understand. You can find plenty of material on them on the internet, and there's an excellent article on them in the June 2013 QST. I got copies of PowerPoint if you want it. I thought this would be a good presentation for Hamfest altogether, because if you're out looking for one, at least you know what you're looking at, you know, and what to look for. I usually bring a flashlight so I can look down in there and see if there's an actual crystal inside there, because a lot of times people just pull the crystal and Tom and I talk about, Tom Monday, KC2SFU over there, talk about, we put them on the air once in a while, didn't we? We did it once with the tours, yeah.
We live right here in town, so we talk back and forth, 6-meter or 2-meter, yeah.
Right.
So,
Where do you simplex and AM here?
Okay, we use 144.450, which would be an 8.025 crystal. So, and it's funny because most of the tours that I pick up have that crystal in it and not the original Heathkit one that came with it. So, yeah, I think there's another frequency that they use in California and Long Island or something. It's maybe 280 or some nonsense. I can't remember what it was, 285. But anyway, so what, if you want, I mean, I can, if you'd like to peruse them closer, I will bring them to you.
It's one of those things that I'm relatively young, and all the stuff that's came before me that is built on this stuff. You don't normally see it in one this good a condition.
No.
here's the thing I love about old equipment. Just like old cars, you can work on it. You can't, you know, you're gonna have to, there's a heck of a
Yes, there, thanks.
work on a new radio.
I knew there's one in there.
Not so much, not so much. And you get all the same theory. So they're just very interesting.
Well, I've learned more about radio tinkering with these old. Tell me you actually bought this in Dayton. Younger, you know. It's got a date and a
No, I didn't buy it. I saw it for sale, and I jumped on it because I don't see them for sale too often. Yeah, yeah.
Just the
No,
idea
no.
of
It'd be kind of cool if I did, right?
The guy
Yeah, yeah, I did.
changing the dress.
Yeah.
That's great.
He's probably long gone, that guy.
Simple,
Yeah.
yet so,
Benjamin Bauer.
say elegant. That's what I like to describe these things as being elegant, because there's nothing in there that's not needed. There's not a whole bunch of bells and whistles.
Right.
You know, if you wanna learn radio theory, hedge dining and all that stuff, just go buy an old radio.
Yes, it can be. I mean, and if it's broke, it's even better because then you got to fix it. Then you have to learn things, right? Yeah, yeah. Essentially.
You can get essentially an HF receiver out there for like, I think I saw one for $25.
$25, yeah.
You know,
And you tweak it and get it working well, and
as long as you don't electrocute yourself, you'll be fine.
right. Well, the voltages are a little higher, yeah.
I did, I've been trying to, I've got it working really good on CW now, but I don't have, there's something wrong with the AM modulation. I've got a Johnson Viking 2 that he passed along to me.
Mhm.
And I did the clamper tube adjustment. And I'm like reading the manual, I'm like, okay, so, you've got to do this with the high voltage on. So I'm looking at where the resistor is.
Yeah.
And there's a big thick piece of copper that comes off one of the plates.
Yes.
And they bend it just enough
To get her.
you to like, wow, this is a high stakes game of operation. Which
Yes,
is why
it's
I
got-
never adjusted.
It's kind of like, honey, did we sign the will?
I wrapped it,
Yeah.
I like shrink wrap,
Yeah.
electrical tape.
Right. Yeah.
And it still doesn't matter when you reach out to it anyway.
Yeah. How many deaths are attributed to Johnson Ranger 2 is right? Viking 2.
Wasn't there a TV set you were talking about that killed people?
Oh,
There
no.
was a lot of them. Because
Rob's
they
had one under
used
his
to run,
table.
in the early days, they used to run the second anode on the outside of the tube.
Well,
Oh,
you probably saw helicopters out there, essentially, where, you could plug it in backwards and suddenly you've
and
got
have a hot
250
chassis.
volts on the
Have a hot
chassis.
And
chassis.
it would run, but it would just
Oh,
be
yeah.
backward.
Yeah.
No, I've gotten bit a few. I work on Swans sometimes. I've gotten bit a few times. 900 volts. Yeah.
On a linear, and RF walk out and burn a hole in my arm.
It came to you, right? You just got near it, right?
That was on a linear back in the 90s.
Oh, that's
I was
crazy.
like, oh.
Sometimes on the Swans I forget and I touch the plate cap and it bites me.
That's
And then I remember it for about 6 months. Yeah,
That's
so.
the thing, I mean, we were talking, the element listed out, it's like, this is what it does.
Yeah.
It's discrete enough and separated enough where, and Heath kit especially, there's always a book with Heath kit that you can buy.
Mhm.
And it will not only show you the schematic, but it will tell you how it works.
Yeah, they
Well-
do a good job of explaining the heat stuff does.
It's funny now because
Yeah.
As things advanced, you went into solid state radios and things. They started. You had to decouple this, and you had to have this cap here, and they put 2 or 3 caps, in parallel for certain frequencies to keep it, from oscillating, and then things keep going, keep going, progressing, and things got integrated. And now you open a modern transceiver, and it's almost back to the simplicity where they're just using, kind of almost modules.
Yeah.
You can follow it again, I mean, I was really impressed with, when I redid that IC 746 Pro.
Oh, yeah.
That was very simple to work on.
You don't get a squelch.
Yeah.
There's no squelch. You gotta listen to this.
I read there was an article where somebody added squelch to it.
Yeah, there-
They
like I
used
said,
like
yeah.
a light bulb or something wild.
I think the deal was they were cheap enough that you didn't mind doing things to them.
Yeah.
It was. This is your tuning. I mean, it's. Yeah. Just get it near there, and you'll be hearing. Hey, you could, zero in on it a little bit, but And then you have your regeneration control back here. It's not even on the front, you know. So. Yep.
It's like I think the instruction manual said you turn it all the way back and then ease it forward
Yep.
just until you get sound.
Until you get the hiss.
Yeah.
Now, some of these, you'll hear a little bit of a hum, okay?
Mine's got
Yeah, and it's all about how you did the filament winding.
Really?
Filament wiring, yeah. The 12, you know, I mean, this was really bad. I did a little bit of a, you know, rework on it, and I got rid of some of it, so.
You've got me inspired now.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna pull one of them off the shelf. All right, I gotta get one straightened
Yeah.
out.
So where are you located?
Binghamton? Actually, Endicott.
What you call?
KC2JED.
Okay. Have you,
Which repeater's that? 685?
Norwich?
Yesterday. Well, I tried to work your repeater yesterday, but it came back to me.
Can't remember his name. Lived down there somewhere near the airport, I think.
Well, Drake, AB2HS.
Oh, no, I
Oh,
talked to
Ford.
I talked to him on the, hey, everybody.
Good old Ford.
No, younger, I'll say a younger guy.
I knew Ford when he was young.
I don't think I ever knew Ford when he was young.
Does he still sell?
That's why he was,
Yeah.
he had to go out like to Ohio or something.
Does he still sell Larson? He used to sell Larson.
No, not anymore.
Okay. Then I used to buy Cushcraft out of some guy down in Scranton, K3HAM. Do you know this guy?
You know, I don't even know he's still alive.
Is he? Okay.
Yeah, I know the guy you're talking about.
Yeah.
I went with him